There are so many different types of glue out there. Some of them make sense, like plastic glue or wood glue, but what the heck even is super glue or PVA glue? What does PVA even stand for? So in this video I stick things to other things and find out what glue you should be using. Today's fine selection includes hot glue, cheapo plastic glue from the hardware store, Citadel plastic glue, super glue, and classic good old PVA glue. And the materials we'll be sticking together will be beach sand, plastic, resin, some rocks, XPS foam, cardboard, and some miniature basin grass. So we're starting off here with the sand, and since you can't exactly stick sand to sand, I use the sacrificial base since that's what most people are probably going to be sticking their sand to anyway. Next up is the XPS foam, and we're starting with the super glue here. I've actually already tried this before, and if you're there you'd be able to smell the XPS foam melting on the inside, and there's a bit of a gap forming on the front. But the effect is actually pretty cool, so we're gonna get to see that at the end once it's dry. It looks pretty cool, but not very good at sticking things together. You can actually use the tip of the hot glue gun to melt the foam as well, which is not very good if you want to just try sticking the foam together, but if you ever need it, you can also use it as an engraving tool. Considering that half the glues are made to stick to plastic, I'm not surprised that they all work pretty well on plastic. The stone I was using is called soapstone, and what makes it interesting is that it's a particularly dusty stone, so a lot of them didn't really seem to stick at first. I did not expect these glues to hold them together, but I was actually surprised at the end. If anything was going to stick these rocks together, I would have bet on the PVA glue. It just works on so many things. The downside is just that it takes ages to cure. Being a material that kind of feels similar to plastic, I would have expected most of the glues to work on the resin as well, but they were kind of slippery and weird. And finally we arrive at the cardboard. Most of the glues seem to kind of seep into it, so we'll see how it works. This one definitely seems the most stuck on, like when you rub it, the least stuff comes off. However, it is also super duper thin compared to the others. Say if you had like a paint underneath there, maybe you just want a little bit of texture to it, it actually looks like a pretty neat effect. If that's the kind of look you're going for, then this is the one for you. I'm surprised these actually worked on sand, because I was like, oh, plastic glue, obviously it's only gonna work on the plastic, but you know, it stuck. The Citadel one is a lot more patchy than the cheapo one. The cheapo one was like a pretty thick glue, so it seems to have caught more of the particles in it. You know, it's stuck there. It's not gonna come off from like everyday use. Onto the PVA glue, which is obviously the one that I always use for sand. This one obviously worked the best. It caught the most particles. You can see this nice dense color of sand. It held so much of it. If you use less PVA glue, it will be thinner than this. You can kind of control how much sand will stick to it. And then the last one, the hot glue, this one is by far the worst. Like, you can clearly see where I put the hot glue, and then the sand, there's like a few little particles that have just decided to cling on. It looks pretty bad. This one, definitely best. This one is kind of interesting, definitely stuck on well. These two, and this one, F. Get out of here. Let's bring these boys over here. This one's kind of interesting. You can see it's pretty stuck on. I can't pull them apart or anything like that. However, it's kind of like melted them a bit. Like, it's really solid in the middle here where it's kind of collapsed or something. So it's really solidly stuck together, but it has kind of warped the shape, and you can see here there's even like a bit of a hole it's created where it's melted away some of the foam. So I guess if you're looking for a sturdy connection but not necessarily like a good look, I guess this is a good option. This one here. Now these ones, the plastic glues, these ones are pretty cool. Not good, no, but pretty cool to look at. Whoa! Look at that! They've gone completely hollow on the inside. Oh my god. Super cool effect. Pretty terrible if you want to stick things together. I mean, they're not even stuck on that well. I can pull them apart pretty dang easily. Yeah, there you go. Cool effect. 10 out of 10 for the interior design, but an F for this test. Again, this is the one I usually use for foam, and it's what a lot of people recommend. There's no melting in the middle, stuck pretty firmly, even though the surfaces weren't completely flat. Definitely the best option for foam. The hot glue. Now this one I also use in a pinch when I don't really care about how sturdy it is, because you can see it's already, you can kind of wiggle it off if you wanted to, but it doesn't make it melt. It only melts if you actually touch the hot tip to the foam. It's quick, way quicker than the PVA. So you need it stuck, don't care how strong it is, need it done quick, use hot glue. The plastic, I forgot which one was which actually because they all work so well, so I had to go back through the footage and figure out which shape was which glue. First up we got the super glue. This one, hold up, that's definitely not super glue. This one is definitely the super glue. You can't see the glue anywhere around it, it's a nice clean connection. I want to start breaking some stuff apart. Let's give it a go. Let's see which one actually stuck the best, since they all pretty much look the same. Now what I usually hear is that super glue and plastic glue both work well on plastic, just that super glue is more brittle. However, these are not coming apart. Snap the tip of my pencil. I cannot really separate these. So, yeah. Maybe if it was a flimsier bit, like if you had, say, a head on like someone's body, you could maybe snap them, or maybe like an antenna. Maybe that could snap off easier, but pretty dang solid super glue. The Citadel plastic glue, obviously this is Citadel plastic with Citadel plastic glue. You'd expect this to perform pretty well. As you can see, there is a little bit of mark here along the side where there was a bit of excess that's built across. From what I know, plastic glue actually melts the plastic, so it might make these little excess bits look a bit more visible, because it's not just like this clear coat on top of it, it's actually changed the shape of the plastic a little bit there. So if you're working maybe with fine details or something and you don't want like random little details to get melted off, I mean, I don't think it's that much of a concern. I use this all the time on like my miniatures, but an interesting difference. And I mean, as expected, I cannot really break them apart. Hold on, let me get something that might do it a bit better. Alright, we've got some separation implements. Let's see if we can give this little another go. Oh, yeah, alright, that snapped off a bit. Oh, there we go. There's the brittleness of the super glue. So you can see, perhaps it's just my job of application, but it didn't exactly cover everything, and there is just like a layer of super glue between them that's holding them together. The plastic's not fused together at all like the plastic glue does. Not much effort for the clippies. Anyway, let's give it a go with the Citadel plastic glue. Oh yeah, so you can see as soon as, even though I've already separated a bit of it, the rest of it has not separated. You stuck your own stuff, well, with the cheapo plastic glue. I'm interested to see how this goes. First things though, not looking good for the cheapo glue. There is a big glob where it came out the side. It's pretty hard to get an accurate fine line. Of course you could probably find ones with thinner nozzles. You could potentially put a little bit of glue to the side and then dump what you wanted to stick in it and then stuck that to the bit. Maybe that would work. Yeah, not very pretty if you had that on your miniature. But anyway, subject it to the test. Oh boy, I can already feel that coming apart a lot easier. Look at that. Uh-oh. Looks like I'm gonna be spending 20 bucks a bottle. That was almost like the super glue, how once I cut into it even a little bit, the rest of it just peeled away. You can see like it actually looks similar to the super glue, how there's like a layer. It hasn't really fused them at all. I guess you're worth the price for now, Citadel. Then we've got PVA glue. Sometimes I do use PVA glue for plastic if I'm doing like big terrain pieces and I don't want to waste my nice plastic glue on it. And I don't really care if there's like these little extra globs. Jeez, that was pretty easy. Yeah, not the best option for plastic. You can see there's like barely any glue there actually. It's kind of all spurted out the sides. I guess PVA glue is kind of phobic to the plastic. It's worked on big terrain projects, but definitely not good for little bits where you've only got a little bit of surface area to connect them. And lastly, we've got the hot glue. It was kind of hard to get a nice thin line of hot glue, and obviously you can see there's some thick globs on the side there. I mean, it was definitely quick, but when you're comparing it to super glue and Citadel plastic glue, it's not really that much quicker considering you have to like warm up the hot glue gun and everything beforehand. It's honestly probably not really worth it. Oh yeah, you can see there is actually a bit of a gap between the pieces. Anyway, oh, there we go. That came apart easy. There's that glob of hot glue. You can peel that off. Definitely a lot quicker than PVA glue. Maybe I'll consider using more hot glue than PVA glue on like quick and dirty terrain pieces and stuff out of plastic. Next up, we've got this cute little pizza of grass to have a look at here. These all stuck on, like pretty dang well. Nothing really comes off though. It's really just down to the look. This one here is the super glue. Actually create a little bit of white along the edge and there's no like shininess to it. Some of the grass feels pretty stiff. It's not like as soft as the other ones. Like it's kind of absorbed the super glue and hardened it a bit. Now, again, I'm surprised the plastic glue's worked on the grass. This is the cheapo plastic glue. It has quite a gloss to it. And this section here, there is no grass stuck to that. I'm not sure if it was just too thin or something, but the Citadel glue, on the other hand, is a lot fluffier than the super glue, and you can't actually see much of the glue at all underneath. We've got PVA glue. This is what I usually use for grass. Again, I use PVA glue because I mean it kind of sticks to everything, you know. Not everything great, but it does everything. This grass, again, soft like the other ones. You can see a bit of the PVA glue, a little bit of glossiness between all the little reeds of grass. The positive of PVA glue as well is that it's easy to spread around bases, so if you've got like a mini already stuck on it, already got feet in there, you can use a stick to kind of spread the PVA glue around it. Having that extra working time is actually helpful on these bases. However, obviously you do have to wait longer for it to dry, so. And then finally we've got the hot glue. Now this one, I mean, you can see there's definitely a raise, there's like a lump there, which is actually kind of interesting. You could try and create some inconsistency in the ground and the hills. However, you can definitely see those lines of hot glue. If you want something nice and neat, I'd recommend probably PVA glue or even the plastic glue. I think I'd actually use the plastic glue next time. I'll probably actually give it a go when I need to do something quick and I don't need the workability of the PVA glue. Alright, this is where things start getting interesting. This is where some glues actually just stop working. So let's have a look at the rocks. We got the super glue first. This one I had a lot of trouble sticking together. I got super glue all over my hands because you can see these are not flat surfaces sticking to each other, and the super glue just spread everywhere. It did not want to stay on the rock at all. And let's have a look. If I try and pull them apart, ooh, there we go. So it does snap apart, even with these nice flat surfaces. It's still left a solid amount of gaps that the super glue just can't handle sticking things together when there's not much surface connecting each other. It stuck for a bit, but it didn't take that much force to break. Next we got the Citadel glue. Now, this was not sticking together at first. This and the plastic glue, they were sliding all over the place when I first set them down, but after a night, these are actually like stuck together. Oh, never mind, okay. So, that took even less force than the super glue. Plastic glue just doesn't do the job. Let's try the cheapo plastic glue. Oh, that's actually stuck on a lot better than the Citadel one. I wonder if it's got something to do with the globbiness. It probably fills in the gaps better. It gives it more surface to stick to. I don't think I can get those apart with my fingers. Hey, there we go. Alright, we finally got it apart, but dang, that was some work. I'm really impressed by that. Then we've got PVA glue. Now, again, this is what I use for rocks because obviously it sticks to pretty much anything. Let's give it a go. Yeah, these are stuck on pretty dang well. Oh, there we go. You can see the layer of the PVA glue sitting in the middle. I think the reason that these two probably work so well, the fact that they were so thick, little gaps between the rocks, even though they're kind of flat surfaces, they fill them in and create more surface area for them to stick. So they both worked pretty well. And then finally we got the hot glue. Now, alright, well, you didn't last at all, hot glue! And here I was going like, oh, the thicker ones for the cover more surface here and stuff like that. I have no idea what happens. I have no idea how any of this stuff works. Oh man. Yeah, that did not stick at all. This cheapo, thick plastic glue or PVA glue are the ways to go with rocks. At least this type of rock. I don't know how it works with other rocks. The resin, this one's already fallen apart. Citadel plastic glue, gonna be an immediate fail. Let's go from the top. Super glue. This is what I usually use for resin. It sets quickly and it sticks pretty well from my experience. I mean, the resin is pretty much as brittle as the super glue anyway. It sticks well. Resin is just kind of weak. Plastic glue. Surprised this stuck and the Citadel one didn't. Oh, I can hear that, yeah. I've tried using plastic glue and resin before and it for some reason is just too different to plastic. It doesn't melt the way plastic does and it just doesn't work. Chemical or something like that. Chemistry. Yummy. Don't use plastic glue and resin. Let's try this one out. Oh man. That's separating so easily. What are you doing, PVA? It's kind of like phobic. It hasn't stayed where I put it. It's still like wet in here, even though I let it dry for a full 2 nights. Seems resin is a pretty demanding material. Can we get anyone sticking resin together like super glue does? Oh, okay, well I break the resin before the glue. That's at least a little better, but there we go. Yeah, once again we've got this layer of hot glue that I can just peel off. That's kind of surprising, the fact that everything kind of stuck to rock, but resin, what a weird material. The super glue, the only one that's still stuck together. So I guess this is kind of your only option, unless there's, if anyone else uses anything other than super glue, let me know. I'd love to hear. Last but not least, the card. Once again, Citadel glue, you failed. The cardboard like fully just soaked up this stuff. Let's see how you did. Once again, the cardboard did soak up the super glue, but it's still stuck in some places. Whoa. So half of it is stuck on well, the other half the cardboard soaked it up. So I'm not sure what the takeaway is here, apart from the fact that it's perhaps a bit inconsistent. Then we got Citadel. Yeah, obviously we already talked about that. Yeah, right, failed Citadel. Let's give you a shot. Oh man. Alright, well the cardboard's ripping. Alright, so it seems there's one layer, like the top layer of cardboard, has stuck to each other, but then when I peeled it off, the rest of it came off pretty easily. So it seems the cardboard didn't really soak up this glue much. It did stick those layers. It kind of held the 2 middle layers so well that it was just easy to peel off the other ones. Next up, PVA glue. The PVA glue, I find, at least on the shiny cardboard, doesn't stick at all, but I guess we'll see what it's like on the other side. Once again, it's kind of like that inner layer that is stuck on, but this outer layer is really easy to just peel off. This might have something to do with the cardboard itself, I'm not sure. Pretty much as good as the cheapo plastic glue. And I mean the plastic glue set faster, so hot glue. Let's see how this one went. I'm interested to see how this goes. We've got pretty much the same result. Where the hot glue is, the inner layer of cardboard has stuck and the other bits come off. The hot glue definitely has like a shape to it, and only that shape will stick. If you don't stick it right to the edges, those corners will not be stuck together. You can't spread it around like PVA glue with a stick or something because it sets so fast and it's hot, you can't really touch it. I'd probably still recommend the plastic or the PVA based on these results. And speaking of results, alright, drum roll please for the final result. Ta-da! Here it is! So, PVA glue coming out on top with the biggest score. Super glue and plastic glue. Even, surprisingly, Citadel glue did worse overall than the cheapo version, so this stuff worth considering for some things. Hot glue, I'm surprised it was the worst by far. These numbers are pretty useless, to be honest. They're here just for a little bit of fun, to give a little bit of finality to the whole experiment, but honestly, it's completely up to you and your situation. Obviously, each glue has its own pros and cons. Super glue, super fast to set, but if you're clumsy like me, you get it all over your fingies and it hurts to take off, so always gonna have a grudge on you. I never learned my lesson with super glue, so up to you if you wanna take that risk with your own hands. Citadel and plastic glue, again, set really fast. Well, apart from the rock apparently, but they set really fast, but they only work on more specific things like plastic, I guess. I mean, that's what they're for. And grass, apparently. And they don't stick to your fingies like super glue does. So these are definitely the option if you want to work on fine things with your fingers, like, surprise surprise, miniatures. They're the best thing to do stuff with. The Citadel glue and Citadel plastic, it makes sense, right? Though the cheapo plastic glue, worth considering if you're not worried about the thick nozzle, or if you can find one with a thinner nozzle, it's not a bad option. The PVA glue, obviously this works decently on everything apart from resin, because resin doesn't like anything, but PVA glue works pretty solidly on everything. If you've got a new material and you don't know what glue to use on it, just chuck some PVA glue, it's probably gonna stick. And then the hot glue, same kind of deal. It sets faster than the PVA, but is always going to be less strong. It sets quicker, don't want to touch it, it's hot. It's in the name, it's hot. Don't touch. This you can touch, this don't touch. Sets faster, but don't touch. So, really, it's up to you. But still, I learned some interesting things in this experiment, and I hope you did too. And I can't stop looking at the interior decor of these plastic glue foam bits. Surely you could use this for something interesting. Have a good day.